Hi everyone, thanks for joining TalentCorp Career Comeback Program for Women. My name is May Chong and I will be your host today. This seminar is a joint collaboration between TalentCorp, Leaderboard Consulting and Hunters Search. Just a short introduction about our partners. Leaderboard is a training, consulting and coaching company that helps businesses to increase their profit through people development. And Hunters Search is a recruitment company recognized as Malaysia's top 10 recruitment company, and they are here today to provide job opportunities for all of us. Our topic for today is handling interview technique and is conducted by Sarah Tan, the CEO of Leaderboard Consulting. This will be an hour session which includes the Q&A session. Now I would like to invite Wafa from TalentCorp for her welcoming speech. Over to you, Wafa.
So I thought I didn't want to speaker. Sorry, you have been calling my name. So I was like, okay. So hi ladies, I can see it's a very good attendees today, the number of attendees. Again, thank you to Hunters, Sarah, May and Amanda to be organizing this with TalentCorp. So I think this is a second session, and I think it's another great topic, handling interview question technique. I think this is something for all of us, not just career comeback women. It's going to be some refresher for me. So I'll be joining this session. Okay, thank you guys. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Wafa. Thank you for your very enthusiastic welcoming speech. I really love it. Okay. Now, Sarah Tan, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, May, for the introduction. And first of all, welcome. Good afternoon to everyone who's joining this webinar. Right. I can see quite a lot of participants today have joined in. We have now, I think, almost 30 participants, and I know that some more will be coming in later on. So, as May has mentioned, right, I'm one of the co-founder of Leaderboard Consulting. I'm also a consultant and trainer as well. And I just want to tell you a bit about my corporate career story. So way back long ago, I started my first job, as a HR executive after graduation. And I was blessed from there on, to be able to work with reputable companies. So I started my career then after that from a HR executive. I moved on to become a HR manager with GE, then later on with Johnson Controls. Then my last job actually was with BMW. So throughout my 26 years, as you can see, I already have 4 companies, in my CV. And I spent most of my time, actually, 16 years with BMW Malaysia. So my last position with them was head of regional training center, right? It was a P&L regional training center, managing a few trainers, Then something happened, of course, in 2019. They did a restructuring, and after 16 years, I think it's about time, right? I move on. So I decided to leave BMW, and then I'm at the crossroad of my life after that. So 2019, I decided, it's 26 years of my career, right, in corporate world. What do I really want to do for the next 10 years? I'm not young anymore. Do I want to continue to chase after the corporate race? Life is getting tougher, being at the top. Sometimes it's lonely, it's too much work. You work basically 12 hours a day, and then sometimes over the weekends. And I know what I want to do, for the next 10 years of my life. My goal is basically to do something meaningful for myself, to spend more time with my family. My family has supported me in my career. My kid is already grown up, so he is now working. So I have only one child, right? So my husband is working as well. So do I really need to earn a lot of money? Yes, maybe not. But I know that I want to spend more time with my family. I want to share my passion. My passion is in HR, training, coaching, mentoring, and helping people, right? And I also want to enjoy the fruits of my labor, right? You don't want to wait until you're very old, very sick, and then then you start to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So by the time of 2019, right, before the COVID-19 happened, and I thought I can travel the world. But of course, at the end, I didn't end up traveling the world. I ended up staying at home. So I decided then, I have to make something meaningful for my life. So my journey started as an entrepreneur in 2020. right? And I want to still, do something that I really like, which is HR. So I knock on the door of Mei Chong, who happens to run the Hunters Search International, and enroll myself as a freelance consultant doing recruitment in consultancy work, which I really enjoy. Yeah, it was quite a successful year, although I know it's tough, it's challenging, but we still managed to get some clients, right? And also, of course, at the same time, I take the opportunity to learn and upgrade my skills as well. I took up some IT courses, I built website, design website. I also clients, who use me for my website skills. Yeah. Then, of course, this year now, from recruitment, HR consultancy, I decided that, in this year, we actually started our Leaderboard Consulting training and coaching company, right? It's going to be an interesting journey for us, yeah, and I'm really excited to see how this journey will take us in the future, yeah. So, of course, I want to thank TalentCorp, for inviting us, right, to come and give a talk about, helping women to come back to career workforce. And this is something really close to my heart. And of course, I said, yes, let's do this. Yeah. So we had one session run in July, and now this is our second workshop, right? So the topic will be handling interview question technique, right? And I hope after this webinar, which is only a 1 hour webinar, I actually run this training on interview resume for 1 day. So imagine for this interview, I'm now compressing my half a day, one topic, yeah, to a 1 hour session. Yeah, so I hope that you can learn and take away some things from me, which is to identify different types of interview questions, right? And you'll be able to apply the right technique to respond to those questions, and then know when and what type of questions to ask your interviewer. Okay, so you can ask all your questions, right? I will encourage you to put in your questions using this slido.com, or just scan the QR code using your phone or iPad, yeah, and key in the code number, right? Just put in your questions there. But if you don't have any questions, you could also vote, right? Other people's question, and then the highest question that gets the highest vote will be at the top of the list, right? So I will only take questions from Slido at the end of the training. Okay, look, good. So let's begin. Let's get started, right? So after all the hard work that you have done, right, writing your CVs, maybe you have attempted a few times, submitting your applications, right, 3, 4, 5 times, if you're lucky, you get it your first time, you get an interview, right? But if not, then you sometimes have to do it a few times. But yes, if you receive an interview call, either from a recruiter or directly from a potential employer, right, you definitely feel excited, right? Anxious at the same time, isn't it? I'm very sure you have, because I can recall back when my timer was called by BMW, right? How excited I was, right? Anxious at the same time. And the first thing you think, oops, okay, now I have to go for an interview, right? So that means you have actually done something well, right? You have overcome your first hurdle because you have submitted your CV. So that means there's something about your CV that has attracted the attention of the interviewer, right, or the recruiter or the hiring manager, and they like something about you, and they are now inviting you to come for an interview. So the interview is actually a validation time, because they want to see whatever you write there, they can ask questions, whether it's accurate, they want to verify those information, right? So your next question will be, so what are interviewers looking for in a candidate? What actually looking for, right? So I want to show you this. And I think some of you may have seen this Iceberg Model of competencies, right? And some of you have been managers before. I'm very sure some of you are, have been managers, senior managers, and you also have hired people before, yeah? So imagine this iceberg is you as an individual, right? So you bring along certain knowledge, right? Information that you've acquired in a particular area, right? So this is what you want to contribute, and you hope that the company that you attend to, going for the interview, right, will be able, right, to gain from the knowledge that you have, and you contribute to the company's success. And you have certain skills that you demonstrated, right, that you're able to demonstrate and support your CV and the job that you apply. Yeah? But there's still many parts of you, right, about you as a person that the CV can't tell. So when I would always attend interview, I always tell the candidate, I can only see what I can see in the CV, but I really want to know them more, right? And I have a hiring manager last time who spent 2 hours, and I will tell everybody this story, but he's a British guy, but he will always tell me, Sarah, he said, I want to spend time 2 hours with a candidate because I really want to know who I'm working with and who's going to work with me, right? For him, knowledge and skills, yes, it's good to have, but it's the whole package of the individual. So that is about you, your attitude, about you, your own self-worth, about the traits, about your motives, right? So that is really important. Okay, so this is the whole iceberg competencies. Okay, so let's start with knowledge, right? So this is something definitely, I think, right? If you talk about knowledge is something that you already have, right? Or you can gain, by reading up, by training, by going for classes, right? But usually for interview, they want knowledge about the company, right? The company that you're attending, that you're going to join, or it's about the company of the previous job experiences, right? About the brand, about the value, knowledge about the products that you have sold before, or the products of your company that you worked before, or have you got any knowledge about the company that you want to join, their product and their services, about the competitor, right? About the company's performance. Do you do some research about the job responsibilities, right? The knowledge about the job that you are applying for. For example, job expectation. You must at least know, okay, what is expected of you from the job. You must have some idea already if you're applying for that role, right? You cannot go into the interview and say, I have no idea what you are expecting me to do. Then why you apply for the job? You apply for the job because you know what the job is about. You have some idea what is expectation, right? And also you need to have some knowledge about the job challenges that you have, right? And of course, a lot of it are about your past work experiences, because these knowledges that you have, right, that you have gained throughout your career will definitely be able, right, where the future company can actually leverage on, or you can contribute to their success. Okay. So how to handle knowledge-based questions? Really, I think is to do your research about the company, right? About the role. If you're not sure, then you have to ask people who have done the job before, especially if you're going for a career change, right? Because this is a new role for you, totally. Let's say you're moving out from HR, you're going to marketing, or either way, you're coming from sales, you want to go to some other IT job. So this could be the first time you're doing the job, right? So you need to really talk to people who have done those jobs before. Okay, familiar yourself with the job scope of the role, right? So when you go for interview, make sure that you really read thoroughly the job scope that has been advertised. I have a candidate that comes to me and asks a question, can you please explain to me about the job? Of course, I can explain, but I rather that you ask differently and say, maybe, this one sentence here, I need further clarification, this sentence here, I need, because then at least I know you read through the job advertisement, you pick up certain tasks that you probably need further clarification. In that way, it's much better than come and ask me and say, can you please tell me more about the job? So that shows that you did not prepare, or you did not really read the job descriptions, right? So preparations, reading the job scope, get to understand first the job scope before you ask questions. Then of course, if it's knowledge-based question, sometimes they ask you about certain knowledge about the job, about the company product or your company performance, and if you may not know how to answer, don't pretend to know how to answer. Just say no, you do not know, or you go back and find out more information and come back to them, right? So honesty is the best policy. So for knowledge-based question, right, you must do your research, you must prepare, because it's either you have it or you don't, right? So next we go to skills. Okay, skills is demonstrated learned abilities, right? So this is also a competencies, because you have the knowledge, but now they also want to test your skills. So skills, there's two types of skills. First we talk about the hard skills. Hard skills are skills that are teachable, right? It's abilities that you can actually demonstrate and it's easily quantifiable, right? It could be a skills of how you operate a machine, If you're on IT, then you got to demonstrate the skills on how you do your computer, your codings. If you're finance, maybe, they'll give you some tests, or they ask questions to test your accounting knowledge. If you're a lawyer, then they test you some questions about your legal knowledge, HR as well, If let's say it's a job that requires you to speak Mandarin, then they ask you to speak your Mandarin, and say some conversation using Japanese or Mandarin, So all these hard skills is easily quantifiable. You can do a test, assessments, and the outcome is either you pass or fail. So it's quite straightforward. And in my career in HR, we actually had a lot of tests, because from BMW in my time, we do a lot of tests to test our technicians, to test our engineers, to test our finance. Every position we have a certain test to test the skills, the competent skills. So skills are generally you have it or you don't, right? If not, then you need definitely, one way is to improve your skills, go for more practice, go for more training to upgrade your skills knowledge. Okay. The other part, which is what I call the soft skills. Soft skills then is known as people skills, right? Interpersonal skills. And this could be leaderships, how you make decisions, how you work with people in a team, what's your motivations coming to work, what motivates you to strive, for better performance, right? How do you interact with your colleagues in the team? Because soft skills relates a lot to your character, to the value, to the belief, because we are molded since young, and maybe throughout life, you have certain experiences or encounter that change your personality, right? So in my training on DISC, right, we said there are different types of personality or behavior in a company, right? You have people who are very dominant, right? And you have people who are great influencer, right? They can just sell anything in the sky, and to even sell, they say sell ice cream to an Eskimo, right? So they can sell everything because they are a great influencer. But there are people who are very careful, who are very, private, they like to keep to themselves. So for these are very subjective and it's very hard to measure, right? But the soft skills actually made up the bigger part of you, and where a lot of hiring manager, a lot of interviewers, where they want to, find out more about you, because this is important, right? For a company, when they want to hire somebody, right? They want to make sure that you can fit into the culture of that organization, because organization is made of people, and people, needs to work together so that everybody can align and then work together to one goal and objective to achieve the success of the company. But if you have different personality and you quarrel every time in the team, and you cannot work along the managers because you have different motives, you have different attitude, it's difficult, right? So that's why sometimes, like it or not, right, employer will say, I like to hire younger people instead of older people. They have a reason for it, because they always thought that more older people, maybe it's hard to change, right? Because you already have a lot of things built in you, have certain beliefs, right? Because you will say, I've already gone through this before, I know it doesn't work, maybe, it may not change anything if I couldn't do it, right? But younger people are more innocent, right? You tell them to do anything, they'll do, right? They will not really argue much with you, Of course, it depends on every employer, what they're looking for, right? Individual, okay? But I'm just trying to say that, there's certain reason why certain employers, prefer certain age for certain job, So, because this is the whole package of the individual, right? As you can see, the top of knowledge and skills is easier to change. So in my company previously also, when I was working with BMW, with GE, we always hire potential candidates, all right? They may not fulfill 100% the skills, qualifications, that we're looking for, but we look at the correct Okay, so to hire the right person for the right job, so how does a hiring manager and HR, what tool do they use? Right, so I'm going to introduce to you this tool which is called the behavioral and situational interview techniques. Right, so this is so far still the best tool where interviewers use to solicit answers from candidates. So let's start with the first one. We call this as competency behavioral interview questions. Right, so it's designed to understand your past behavior towards certain situations that can be used to predict future behavior. Because we also believe that you behave certain way because of your past experience, right? And maybe if the future situation is going to present itself to you, you will probably, naturally will react the same, right? So, how to identify such behavioral questions, right? So the question usually is posed to you in a certain way, right? They will tell you, okay, please tell me about a certain time or situation you encounter a certain problem, or give me an example or describe a time. So if you can detect these words, right? Tell me about a time, give me an example, or describe a time. Of course, sometimes they may not really use this word exactly, but if this is how they word it, right? Tell me a time, give me an example, describe a time. This is actually a question to actually study your behavior. Okay, so how do you then answer? Now, there's a technique, and I think it's quite common, being used, but it's also sometimes a lot of candidates forgot about it. Because if you don't use this technique, you just jump the gun and just answer, right? Without really know how to actually arrange your answer properly, right? So use the STAR method. It's very easy. STAR, remember it, right? S means you state the time when that situation happened and what task was given to you at the time, and what action you have taken, right? And most importantly, a lot of people forgot. They tell the story, then they forgot to tell the result. For me, the result is the most important. What result? What's the outcome of all the action and the task that you have taken? Okay, let's give you an example. One question. Tell me about a time where you have to go beyond your normal duties to get the job done. So this is a question where they want to look at your behavior, right? Are you someone who will really go out and go beyond your normal duties, right? And tell me a time where you do it. So this has to be real, actual example. And usually this will happen because if you say I never had such situations, that means you never have really gone beyond your normal duties, but you will definitely can remember certain time of your workplace in your job, that you have gone beyond your normal duties to get a certain job done. That's why I say preparation of interview is important, because when you prepare, you have more time to think about it. But if you don't prepare, you're on the spot. People ask you this question, you just totally blank, then you forgot how to answer, right? So prepare, then when people ask you, you already know what to answer because you already thought about it before that. So how to answer? First, state where it happened. Like in this example, I mentioned it's in my previous company, and I really state which company, because it happened in that company. And it's also mentioned what the task was given. So that task that time was I have to help an expat, right, on his personal belonging, because he couldn't come back to Malaysia, right? But his house is here, because we gave him a house. So we have to sell all the furniture that he have in the house, right? And normally this has to be done by the expat. So HR doesn't have to do it, right? So he has to sell it and everything is his own, right? You don't have to get bothered about it. So this is something that I go beyond and do it for him, right? So what action do? I engage an agent, I even put all his furniture, advertise in Muda, I even contact my friends and everything to sell the furniture for him. Okay, so the outcome was important. Was it successful or not? Right. So in this case, it was successful. I sold everything. He was very happy. He gets some money back, for all his furniture. But most importantly, the company does not lose money, right? Because we don't have to extend further the rental because the furnitures are all in his house. So we avoid paying additional costs. Okay. So if you have this star in mind, right, then when you answer the questions, you know how to couch your answer, properly that way. Okay. So because this is a webinar of 1 hour, right, I cannot go through every questions to help you to answer it. But we have samples of questions for behavioral interview, which you can take it back and put into practice this format. Okay, so you have to really think about it, take time about it. But of course, I cannot guarantee you that all these questions, you will encounter it when the interviewer asks you, right? So you also have to prepare for. But these are usually some of the common questions that will be asked. Okay, so as I said earlier, right, if you never encounter such situation in the workplace, if really you never encounter, right? So what you can do is to ask the interviewer, can I relate this to something closer enough, right? So that you can actually answer that question, right? And you want to give the employer a real example, right? Do not say, I have never experienced, I don't have this situation before. Because most of the questions later you go through, right? It should have some, what do you call that, connections to what you have experienced go through. If you have worked in a company, question about your stress, question about conflict with people, question about complaints, these are usually you would definitely have encountered in your workplace. Okay, so try and attempt to answer those questions, right? Second one is situational interview questions. And these are questions where they give you a scenario, right? Because they want to gauge how you react to a certain situation. So these scenarios are generally sometimes they made it up for you, or it could be a real situation where it really happened in that company, right? And they want to bring that situation to ask you again to see how you would do it differently from maybe the experience that they have, right? So question like this usually it's always, started with questions like statements like if you would, right? And how to answer them, right, is to use a 3-step, very simple, 3 steps to answer the questions. Why? Because it's a situational, right? So it's talk about actions you will take. So when you want to talk about actions you will take, you will say, okay, my first action, my second, my third, right? I think 3 is enough. Don't go too long, right? 3 is enough unless the interviewer want to ask you for more, okay? And why I will recommend you to use the word first, second, and third, because our brain works that way, right? When you start to say, okay, firstly, I will do this, then your brain is working, start to think, then second and third. Because if you don't do that, right, sometimes I see candidates, they just rattle out, or I will, then it jumbles up, there's no sequence. And then when they answer you, it's all over the place, right? So even if with me hearing it, it's like a bit confused as what he was trying to tell me. But if you start to say, okay, firstly, I will do this. Second, I will do this, and third, because then automatically your brain, right, will work, in a way to think of the sequence. Okay, what's going to come next? What's going to come the second one? What's going to come the third one, right? Put into practice, you'll find that it really works. Okay. For example, if you're given this role as a marketing manager, what would you do in the first 3 months in office, right? So instead of say, oh, I will come in and I will do this and do that, right? So you take time. You say, okay, firstly, this is what I'm going to do, right? Firstly, I will meet my superior, to have a clear understanding of the expectation. Then you say, okay, secondly, then maybe I'll talk about, because I'm a manager, I want to know about my team members, right? Who are my team? I would like to know them a bit more. I'll spend some time with my team manager and my staff to interview them, to talk to them, right? And lastly, of course, that is about my task, right? I want to make sure what's really key issues that I really have to do, right? So in this way, if you answer to questions like this in an interview, right? For me as a HR, I say, okay, this person, at least when he answer, he do first, second, third, right? It's very structured, right? And I have a positive opinion of you in that sense. Okay. So I'm also going to give you some situational interview questions practice here, right? Which you can take away, and put into practice, right? Try to find some answers to some of these questions using the first, second, third structured questions. Right? Just give 3 is enough. Don't go too much, right? Because it's an interview. Remember, you only have 1 hour, and you want to make sure that you don't drag the discussion too long. Give them 3 is good enough, unless the interviewer asks for more. Okay. So we have covered knowledge, skills, and we'll talk a bit about questions to address behavioral and situational questions. But the last part is motive. For me, the motive is very important because this is where a lot of recruiters would like to ask, what's your motive? What's your motive to apply for this company? What's your motive, for want to come back to work? What's your motive, for doing different job, right? So the motive is also important. Yeah. So some questions could be, right, that's related to many of you here, right? Could be one question like, you have been out of employment for a long time. So why do you want to come back to work again, right? So I would say that, to answer this question, right, the first thing first is to state the reason of why you left your last employment, because everybody is curious, or the interviewer will be curious why you left the last employment. So you must have a reason why you left. It could be family reason, to take care of child when you're young, other things, right? So then say what has changed now, right? The situation of your past and now definitely has changed. And what is your current motivation? So you could be saying, okay, my child is big now, or my family issue is no problem, we have resolved it, my parents have recovered, whatever not, right? What's your reason? So now the situation has changed, I'm able now to come out to work because I have more free time, I don't take care of my kids because they are not grown up, right? And my current motivation is to find a job, that can support my family, to find a job that I can be contributing to the society, or I really want to learn something, to contribute my skills, my knowledge that I have gained in the past back to the company, right? And most importantly, I think is to have the step forward, because as a recruiter and employer, they'll be worried, right, that you've been out of job for 1 year, 2 years, whether are you still, keeping updated on your skills and knowledge, right? Do you still maintain your network? So you got to give them this assurance that though I have been out of 2 or 3 years, right, but I am still, keeping myself updated on my understanding of HR, I still read a lot of books and journals, I still in certain circles, right, I still have my friends, I'm really keeping abreast of everything about HR, right? So if you hire me, you can be very sure, right, I don't have a long learning curve, I can really jump into the job and really be able to perform. Okay, so this assurance you must really give to the recruiters. Okay, questions could be, then you have been doing a manager's job before. Why do you want to take a lower position now, right? So this can be quite challenging for you, right? Because you are a manager and now you decide that you want to become an executive position, right? So one way to answer could be you look at the job. So previously, maybe you were managing a small company, right? So now you're applying for a bigger job. So for me, it's like a manager's job in a small company versus an executive's job in a bigger company could be a totally different role, right? So for you, that doesn't really matter. Or you were previously a manager in a local company, and now you want to join an MNC, so it's an executive position. So, for me, it's going to an MNC is much better because, I can learn more, there's more opportunity for me to actually, gain more skills and knowledge, because local company and MNC, the exposure is totally different, right? And then you can say again, the job title is not important for you, right? More important is what is your passion about, right? I don't care, I'm offered a director or manager, the title is not important. I like the job, even though it's an executive, but I really think this is a job that I really want to work in a company I really like, I'm passionate about it. Or if you're going for a career change, right? So again, state the passion for the job, why you are moving to a different role. For example, in HR, moving to a marketing, because I'm passionate about marketing. And you can relate that even though I'm in HR, I still do marketing for HR, right? So I'm always love HR and marketing, and I've been doing a lot of things during my time, taking some part-time job, freelance work. And if you can show them some of these achievements, it's going to be really great. Then another question could be, why are you willing to take a salary pay cut, right? So I've encountered quite a lot of candidates, right? Even the last one, a candidate that was really earning a lot of money, but he was, of course, retrenched, and now he's applying for a job much lower. So these are common questions where, an employer will ask. But because of due to COVID-19, right, it's not so much now a major concern because even the employer, they also have lower budget. So if you're willing to take a lower pay cut, they're not going to really question you why. But in the past, right, this is usually going to be a major concern because when the economy is good, everybody's going for a bigger job, bigger pay, and then you're going for a lower salary, then it's always a big question mark, right? But I feel that this current situation, a lot of employers are saying, okay, if the candidate is willing to go for a low budget, they will probably consider, right? But of course, if such question were to pose to you, right, you can always say, so tie into the current situation, you understand, right, the situation is tough, but you're passionate and you're really keen about the job and you want to contribute, right? Because you want to show them that money is not everything, it's about the job. As long as I'm fairly compensated, right, I'm willing to consider your offer, okay? So this is something that you have to, say confidently to them. So there are other questions as well. Let's talk about clarification regarding the job that you must make sure you ask, reporting structure of the role, immediate tasks of the role, job expectation, and the team that will report to you. And also ask about status of your interview results. Okay, so prepare these questions before the end of the interview, right? So what other questions then? I know that some of you are keen to know, when do you ask about salary, benefits, and perks? Okay, so these are important questions, but I would suggest that as a candidate, do not initiate this discussion first, right? Don't ask it in the first interview. Let the interviewer ask. So let them ask you, okay, how much do you want, what you're looking for, right? Because in negotiation, right, it's always the first person who asks, then you can negotiate better, right? Or you wait until the offer is made to you, right? Because you do not want to give an impression that money is everything, when you ask about the salary. Okay, for you, you should be the job come first, salary and benefits and all that comes second. Okay. Can I ask interviewer how I perform in an interview? What do you think? I would say no, right? Because you will only get the standard answer, which is we will let you know if you're shortlisted. But even really, an interview will not tell you, because probably they still have a few more candidates to interview before they make the decisions. But also, it's already 1 hour of interview they had with you. Do you think they're going to sit down and discuss a bit more how you perform? What if they don't like you and then you keep asking questions, how can I improve? As an interviewer, I encountered this before, and I tell myself no more. I'm going to tell my candidate about it. Because I was young then, and I have a candidate ask me, how do I perform? And I was like very eager to help him. I tried. Then the discussion takes another 15 minutes. Then I realized, oops, next time better don't tell them anything, because then I can never end my interview. So, So I think you should wait, right? Maybe after 2 weeks, then find out whether the status of the results of the interview. Okay, can I write a thank you email after the interview? Yes, of course, right? If you have the interview email address, if you don't, then if the interviewer is kind enough to give you the email address, you can write it back. Otherwise, I always think it's a good gesture. But that not necessarily secure you the job lah. It doesn't mean you write an email, you will get the job because they like you because you write an email of thank you, right? But definitely it's a good gesture. It's a positive impression you're going to give it to the employer or the recruiters, right? But it's not guaranteed for you to secure the job, because to secure the job is about everything. Remember, the iceberg is your knowledge, skills, and the bigger part is your personality, your character, right? When is the best time to follow up on the interview status? I would say give in about 2 weeks time, then you follow up. Okay. And I'm going to land already. This is going to be my last page. How to close the interview nicely, right? So make sure you ask all your questions, that you have really prepared, and present it to the interviewer. So may I ask you a couple more questions before we end the interview, right? Reinforce the positive, prepare a closing statements, right? So maybe toward the end, you need to sell it again yourself, right? To confirm with the interviewer that why you are the best candidate, why they should hire you. Okay, so always good to prepare a closing statement to sum up your suitability for the job, right? And then you may also want to ask to confirm with the interviewer if you have already addressed all their concerns. Is there anything else they need from you to clarify from the CVs, And of course, express your enthusiasm again for the job opportunity given, right? And ask for the next step in the hiring process. Basically, meaning when can I come back to you? When can I follow up on the status of the interview results? And of course, thank the interviewer, give a firm handshake, and make confident eye contact, right? Make eye contact is very important. Give a good handshake is very important. All right. So that's actually my last slide. Yeah. And I hope you guys are able already to capture some of the gist of the points that I have shared with you, right? In normal cases, we have some practice on those questions, we have role play, but of course in this session, I'm not really able to do that lah. Yeah. So, but I still welcome all your questions. So remember, we have this slido.com questions, so you can type in your question now, right, into the slido.com, scan the QR code, and I will now try to pull it up, the questions, to see whether we have questions that, yes, I can see a few questions here, right? Good. Hang on a minute, I'm going to share this question so that everybody can also see in the Zoom. Let me open up these questions here now. Just give me a minute. Let me share the different slide. Okay. Good. Can you all see my screen on the questions? Yes? Okay, so if not, then let me know. So you can just raise your hand. If not, or tell my the other panelists here as well, to let you know. Okay, so I've seen the first question that has the highest vote. How do you handle a question that you don't have an answer? That's a very good question, right? If you don't have an answer. Okay, so there are two scenarios here. One is either you do not understand the question, right? Because you're not sure how to answer, right? So first thing first, you must clarify with the interviewer. Okay, can I get clarification? Can you please repeat your question? Don't worry, most interviewer, hiring manager, they are very nice human people, so they will definitely be willing to repeat. So don't be afraid. Ask them to repeat, to clarify again, so make sure that you want to answer the question correctly, right? You don't want to answer wrongly. So clarify. The second situation could be you really don't have the answer. So if you don't really have the answer, just say no. I'm so sorry. At the moment, I don't have this answer right now because I don't know, right? But I can definitely go back and find out the answer for you. Okay, so that is going to be positive because at least you're going to make an effort to find out the answer for them. But don't cook up an answer. I've encountered candidates who actually try and make an attempt to answer, right? But we know that actually he's not very sure about the answer. Of course, he really acted very well, very confidently, he told us about this answer, but we know it's wrong, right? So sometimes, you can get away with it, but sometimes you don't, but it's not going to be good, right? So if you really do not know, unless you're very confident, just tell them, I don't have the answer. They're not going to fault you with it. They prefer someone who's honest and upfront, right? Because sometimes it's also a test question. They want to know that, as an employee, right? If a manager asks you to do something, and if you try to do something differently and you do not know and you provide, it could be wrong. But if you do not know, they prefer that you come and ask them, right? You need clarification. Then they know that you're honest. And that means you actually determine to make sure you're accurate in providing information to your superior or to your colleague. So it could be a test and trick questions. So be honest with it. Okay. Secondly, when the interviewer said, talk about myself, what should I share? Oops. Okay. The situation has changed, but then let me go to that one. So when the interviewer said talk about myself, that's a very good question. So this is actually, I would rather that you put yourself right in an elevator, we call it an elevator talk, right? You're going to elevator, you meet someone, in that 30 seconds, how you introduce yourself, right? Because you only have 1 hour interview and there could be other questions, right? So don't take 10 minutes or 15 minutes to talk about yourself. It's actually for one that 30 seconds, right? You need to talk about yourself. So I would say first, of course, you introduce your name. Secondly, summarize who you are, a bit of background, right? Don't have to tell you the whole family situation. Just say, maybe where you're from, and your education background. Thirdly, summarize your career. Don't go and start, okay, my first job is, I work in BJ development. Then you tell your story. And then the second job, that is really going a bit more into your CVs already, right? So you should summarize. You say, okay, I'm a HR generalist and I worked 25 years, in all my career life. My strength, okay, first, I think you must talk about your strength. Okay, what are your strengths? My strength is in HR compensation, recruitment, in training, or in marketing. I'm good in SEO, I'm good in digital marketing. That's all my strengths, right? Yeah. So summarize it. So in my recruitment training, I call this as your personal branding. What is your USP? Somebody will ask you, what is your personal branding? How you brand yourself? So you should always prepare 5 or 6 sentences, right, in the paragraph, right, to describe yourself, right? So this is, I would say that if you have it prepared, when somebody asks you this question, what should you tell you? So you tell about myself, you should talk to them about this one, right? Don't go too long. Don't go into career path 1, 2, 3, because that is actually going into more detail in your CV discussion, which normally the recruiter will ask you separately. Okay, so remember that. How do you negotiate a higher salary? Okay, so this is a good question. Sometimes they offer you a salary that is lower, right? And then you wanted more. One way is to always talk about your commitments. I always think that, because all of us will have certain minimum commitment. Yeah, you can say, right? My minimum commitment for my house, for this, is this much, right? So, and make sure the minimum commitment is higher than what they offer you lah. Let's say they offer you something like 5,000. Then you say, okay, based on my family commitment, my current commitment, because I have a house, I have a car, blah blah. My minimum commitment is actually 7,000. So if this, you can really offer me this minimum commitment, which I can survive, comfortably, that would be really appreciated. That means you're actually negotiating something that is really what you need, right? And not something because I just want to have 20%, 30% more salary. Because people want to know why. Why don't you take 5,000? Why would you want to take 7,000? Yeah. The reason why is because of my family commitment. I cannot survive with 5. I have to survive with 7. So if they really want me, right, this is my minimum commitment that I can take. Right. So make sure you know what is your family expenditure, what is really enough for you. And I think that for me, actually, I will always consider, because for me, it's like, this is family commitment that they have to survive. I can't pay them 5, right? Then how are they going to survive, right? So I have to make sure that, I want a candidate. I want to make sure that he comes to work, not thinking about how he can survive, but thinking about job and focus. I make sure that he gets enough to live. Yeah. So 7,000, I may want to consider to pay. Right. I think that is a good justification, like in my case. Yeah. How do you answer if the reason you left the job was because it was very toxic environment? You're not happy with the leadership and culture. Right. This is going to be a tough question. Yeah. I mean, in normal cases, right, HR or recruiters, doesn't want to hear negative thing about your previous company. But somehow rather they may know, right? They may know, they will do reference check, they may find out, why you left. Yeah. But you don't have to go into detail, right? You may give a reason that as to, the reason I left this company was, the culture that we work in was not able, I couldn't fit in well in the culture, right? Because, it was very bureaucratic, it was very, very dominant, or it's very, slow in terms of decision making, I have a boss who is basically very autocratic, just give directions and things like that, right? To mention this to the employer, I would think you have to really explain it, and you got to make sure you first check the background of this interviewer or the company that you're actually going to employ, to join, right? If this is a company, let's say you go to a GLC company, right? You worked before in a GLC company, and now you want to work in a multinational company. So normally, people who work in an MNC company, they can appreciate why people are leaving a GLC company, because it's common that a GLC company, the work culture could be very different, from an MNC company. And because your working style is different, right? You prefer a lean culture, you prefer decision making faster, right? It doesn't take very long, going through different stages, so usually then you can share a bit more of your past experiences. But if you feel that this company that you're going to work for, Sometimes if you talk to them, you interview them, you do some homework, you can find out whether are they open. If they are not so open to this kind of comments, it's best that you don't share too much about reasons of why you leave, a toxic environment. Because so who knows that their environment is also equally toxic, right? Who knows that their environment also doesn't have a great leader, right? Then when you start to share this, they will feel that, okay, if I hire this person, maybe it also cannot work well with me, right? But there's good and bad points lah. So if this is also the type of companies that are going to be the same as you left, then maybe it's also a good thing that you don't join them as well, right? So I have no right and wrong answer in this sense, but I would say that it's best you should always find out more about the company that you want to apply the job for, to understand a bit better, right? If you have people who knows it, or the recruiter can tell you a bit more, right? Best not to share too much, but put it in a very positive way unless they probe further. Okay, I hope I have answered you this question, because there's actually no right and wrong answer in this question. Okay, I was terminated by my previous employer. When the interviewer asked what was the reason I resigned, how do I answer this question? Very good question. As again I said right earlier, employer will be able to find out about the reason why you left the company, because they will do reference check. So it's best to disclose, right? It's best to disclose the reason why you resign, because you don't want them to find out later, when you join them, and they find out that you actually tell them the lie. So it's good to disclose why you resign, and then it's up to the company basically to decide whether they want to take you in or not, right? So for me, I think it's important to mention that. So I think I have only got about 10 minutes, right, May? May, can I take one more question or two more questions?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Right. So the next one is, when the interviewer said, talk about myself, what should I share? Yeah. So that's the same thing as, I think, okay, I have already talked about this one earlier, right? I explained that. Earlier, you mentioned interview looking for cultural fit candidates. Do you think it's important in today's age to be diversified in people and attitude? Yes, I would say that is, of course, for company, HR and employer, should diversify in people and attitude. But again, you must understand, why does business exist in this world? They want to make money, they want to make profit. They are not here to, to do charity work, to make sure that you got employed and you get salary, but they want to make sure that the business that exists has to make money, and has to make money, they need to have the right people in the company, and they have to make sure that there's a fit, right, and on the people that they want. Okay, it's a brutal world, like it or not, this is a brutal world. That's why, when pandemic comes, people just retrench people, let go of people. They don't think, because you're not going to have money anymore, I have to think of you, have to keep you. Of course, some employer may consider that, but at the end of the day, they still have to let you go, right? Because it's a brutal world, right? So if I'm a businessman, I want to make sure I hire the best candidate, and I have to think for myself. I have to be selfish as a businessman. What kind of employee do I want, right? So some employer may say, okay, I only want young people because I want people who are dynamic, who can work fast, and so my whole company here are all basically in the 30s. So can I hire a 50-year-old one person to come in? Maybe he cannot fit in, So these are things as a businessman they have to consider, right? So yes, therefore important thing is cultural fit, and it all depends on the employer as to what kind of composition of employee demographic they want, right? There's no right and wrong answer. It all depends on the business, and always remember, business are there to make money, to survive, to make profit. Okay. So our star say, if you're given a scenario and asked to solve the problem, would stating the scenario and the task be redundant? No, it's not redundant, because when you state the scenario, they give you a situation, right? That's the example that I have just now, right? How would you go and beyond to do your job, right? So you state, the company, first you state the company where does this situation happen, right? And then secondly, you have to state the task, because what was the task was given to you that you need to go beyond your normal duties, right? Otherwise, it could be just your actual duties that you do, so that's expected of you anyway. So it's not going beyond, right? So I mean, it depends on this question, because this question was about, right, the situation where the individual has to go beyond the normal duties, right? So therefore, you need to state the task, right? But let's say that question is about differently, but you also still have to address the task that was given to you, because it was a task that will determine the behavior, the actions that you're going to take. So you have to talk about the task. Then A is about the action, right? So you're given a certain task. For example, you're given a certain task, to conduct a training, right? And then what's the action of that training task that you actually delivered? Let's say it was complicated, like you're given a short time to do it, right? Because the question is about, how do you manage a situation where you're given such a short deadline, right? So you have to mention the task that was given. Maybe is to conduct a training. That was the task. The action taken late, because I have only got 2 days to prepare. So what I did, so the action that I have taken is to do this, I do a lot of burn midnight oil, I do a lot of reference check, I make sure I work 24 hours a day, things like this, the action taken, right? And then the results. So it's not going to be redundant. So I hope I answer this question. I hope I get your question, what you mean by the T and the A, right? If not, then I have to apologize, but I hope this is what you're referring to. Okay. So yeah, May, is it still okay that I go with it, or do you want to? Because it's already
we would need to end the session now. I'm so sorry to disappoint everyone. Okay, but anyway, I have a good news for you. But let me extend my thanks to Sarah. Thank you so much, Sarah. It was a very profound. It's actually a very profound insights and knowledge, right? Okay, and for you to bring us through the whole iceberg journey, and for answering all the interesting questions that
they really bring out a lot of tough questions.
Yeah,
yes.
And I realized that we have the privilege of having such a matured audience that they are able to give us such interesting scenarios-based questions to us.
Correct,
right?
correct. Yeah.
And good news to everyone, the webinar today will be posted out in, can you please help me to show the next slide, please, Sarah?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Just give me a minute, let me share the new slide. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, can you see it now?
Not yet, not from my side.
You can't see it?
Okay.
There
we go, right? The webinar today will be posted in our Leaderboard YouTube channel. Okay, just go to the YouTube channel and then search for Leaderboard. You will be able to view the webinar for today. And I have encouraged each and every one of you. I'm sure that each and every one of you have very, very interesting questions. Please continue to post the questions in the Slido, and I will make sure I will literally force Sarah to answer each and every one of your questions. Okay?
Will do. Yes.
And the Q&A again will be posted up in the in Leaderboard YouTube channel. All right. And if you want to know more updates, right, our news and everything from Sarah, please follow them on your official Facebook channel, okay? Facebook at leaderboard.consulting, and also in their LinkedIn company's profile, okay? /leaderboard-consulting.
Yeah, you can find the link in the chat as well.
Okay. The last thing that I wanted to share is that part of our initiative is to encourage employment in Malaysia. Okay, so for those of you who are actually looking for a job opportunity, please check out the Hunters Search link, right, for jobs. It's actually at oh my God, I cannot remember the website. Okay, Amanda, please don't kill me. www.hunters-in.com, and then click on the jobs. If I'm not mistaken, currently we have around 400 plus jobs opportunities for everyone. Okay, the next session will be next Friday at 10 a.m. Sarah will be sharing with us insights in terms of Malaysian current employment situation. The link will be posted on Leaderboard LinkedIn official page. Okay, it's quite a mouthful. I hope I said it correctly. I hope each and every one of you enjoys today's session. I don't know about you, but actually for me, I've learned so many things new, right? I will not going to look at Iceberg ever the same way again. Right, okay? And I hope that you have enjoyed it too, and I hope that you find the session beneficial for you. And we look forward to seeing you next Friday, 10 a.m. Till then, please take care, stay safe, stay at home. The cases is increasing tremendously. Please take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Take care. And thanks for your time.
Thank you.